Euro Dipcon falls to the Dutch. Variant openings in Tolkien and such. And Backchannel, there's never too much. I'm David Hood of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, and this is Deadline, DBN's monthly news program. Dateline, December 2023. For our feature story, let me just say it, Ed Sullivan talks a lot, particularly on his DBN show, Backchannel. He also sometimes lets his interview subjects talk as well. Later in the program, we'll debut a new feature here on Deadline that we're calling Backchannel Best, a look back at moments from the 2023 season of his interviews with various diplomacy personalities at face-to-face events on the NADF circuit. Ed himself will join us for this fun retrospective from this past year of Backchannel bounty. But first, a look at headlines from around the world of diplomacy. First, from the world of virtual face-to-face. The last regular season game day for the Virtual Diplomacy League took place on December 9th, with the big winner being Oregon resident Matthew Tatanchi, who rode a large board top as turkey in the final game of the season to an overall 2 seed in the upcoming VDL final. He will face regular season winner and top seed Nicolas Taillet on that VDL top board, along with Jackson Roberts, Ben Kelman, Peter McNamara, Michalis Kamarites, and Christopher Ward. It'll be played in January with full coverage right here on DBN. The winner, of course, will receive an automatic bid to the 2024 DBNI. Speaking of the DBN Invitational, there's only one more chance for DBNI qualification points left in the season. The Virtual Diplomacy Championship coming up on January 12 through 14. As always, the VDC will crown the world champ for virtual play with a format designed with 6 preliminary rounds scheduled for ease of play for multiple global time zones. Tournament director Liam Stokes has released a registration form with additional scheduling information. It is linked below. I've also included a link to the current DBNI standings hosted on the DBN website so that you can see the rogues gallery of players likely to punch their tickets to diplomacy's big dance. In face-to-face tournament news, the 31st annual Euro Dipcon was held the last weekend in November in Paris, France, with hobby history being made as the first Dutch player ever has won the European Championship, Jelte Kuiper. Frenchman Ruben Sanchez and Vincent Roulet took second and third places, respectively. We have an interview with Jelte about the tournament coming up later on this same program. In other face-to-face news, diplomacy is returning to the PresCon Gaming Convention the last weekend of February in Charlottesville, Virginia, after many years' absence. It will be directed by Thomas Haver. A link to the PresCon website can be found below. Also, the 2024 edition of the North American Diplomacy Championship, the Dipcon, will be hosted the first weekend in February near Vancouver, British Columbia. Here to tell us all about one of the highlights of any diplomacy season is tournament director Chris Brand. Hello, Chris Brand, and welcome back to Deadline.
Thanks, David. It's nice to be here.
I think the last time we had you on, it was for a retrospective about Dipcon before it was held in May. Now we're talking about the 2024 Dipcon, which you will be hosting near Vancouver. So yeah, first of all, tell us a little bit about your history of hosting, events with the Cascadia tournament there in the Vancouver area.
Sure. 2017. Well, I guess before that, the first tournament, the first Cascadia Open was run in 2017. It's always been my thing. Basically, I had traveled to quite a lot of tournaments by then and seen a lot of what other people were doing. I had a few ideas for things I wanted to try doing a little bit differently, and also, giving back to the tournament, to this for hobby. Lots of other people who run tournaments, I'd really enjoyed going to them, so felt that maybe I could give back and give people a chance to take advantage of my hospitality, I guess.
That's fair. What were some of the things that you thought were important to a good diplomacy tournament that you have tried to, that you tried to institute at Cascadia?
Well, when I started, I was experimenting. I had some things that I wanted to try that I didn't know whether they would work or not. One of the things I wanted to do was to be very to share all the information, basically, not to have any secrets as much as possible. I've noticed that there are certain people who have traveled to a lot of tournaments. They know everyone. They know how all the tournaments work and everything. There's a lot of information they're able to pick up that some of the less experienced people might not be able to pick up. So I wanted to try and even out that that disparity as much as possible. So one of the things I do is I have a big projection screen, and on there is all the as current as possible scores. Like if all the games were to end now, then what would the standing be? So everyone can sort of keep track of that in real time and see how things are going on. My original thought was maybe people would want to use that to sort of follow along with the tournament as well, and that doesn't seem to have ended up being a thing, and that's fine. So you experiment with things. Some things work and some things don't, you know.
Sure. Well, for folks that have not been to Cascadia, tell us a little bit about how the tournament is structured and what the schedule looks like.
Yeah, we're doing just 3 rounds, 2 rounds on the Saturday, 1 round on the Sunday. There'll be an informal get-together on the Friday evening. Most people are going to be in town by Friday evening anyway. We've, I think, always done a get-together then. It's a good chance for people to sort of meet each other and size up the opposition and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, nice to have a sort of social event as well. And then, yeah, 9 a.m. on the Saturday, we'll have the first round. And I think it's 6, somewhere around then in the evening for the second round. Third round will be a little bit earlier on the Sunday because I'm guaranteed that everyone's going to be there. So we usually start at 8:30 on the Sunday. And then that makes sure that we can get everyone to the airport for planes and things to get home afterwards.
All 3 rounds count, I assume.
Yeah. I toyed with doing 4 rounds and maybe a top board or maybe a drop round, but I decided to stick to the 3 and no top board, and all 3 rounds count. Yeah. So everyone's, I think with the size of the tournament, you're gonna need 3 decent results to win this tournament. So it should be good to see that happen.
Well, you mentioned the size of the tournament. Tell us a little bit about who's already signed up to come, because I think it's a pretty impressive list so far as we talk about this in early December.
Yeah, so I'm very happy with the list of people who have registered already. We're already right at 5 boards, I believe. That might include me. And there's a number of people who I think are going to sign up but haven't yet officially, signed on the dotted line. We've got multiple former world champions and current world champion. Jamal is coming from Australia. Andrew Goff is coming from Australia. Doc Binder is coming. Nicolas Sahujay is coming. Oh, and Doug Moore. So a good almost a board of world champions.
Just world Dipcon champions.
Yep. Everyone except Tommy Anderson, who has won Cascadia, is going to be there. So yeah. I mean, almost all the big names in North American diplomacy are going to be there, plus some extras from Australia. Not sure whether we've got any European. I don't want to say. I'm not sure. I don't memorize the lists.
Well, how dare you have not memorized?
Oh, Seren's definitely coming from Europe.
Seren Clark.
Yes.
Well, then you do have European participants.
So there are people coming from all over the world.
Well, the reigning champion is Riaz Varani, right? Who's a local to the Cascadia tournament.
Yeah, that's right. He's keen to get his second win. So, and also he's never won Dipcon, so be interesting to see whether he can do that. I mean, I can't root for anyone, but I do enjoy it when the Canadians do well everywhere. So.
Notwithstanding the fact that certain players from California have done well at Cascadia in the past.
Yeah, Cascadia traditionally, it's almost always been a Californian who's won, apart from, I think, Ed Sullivan won one of the virtual ones. Tommy Anderson won one of the virtual ones. Other than that, John Jameson won 1 year, and Riaz, of course, is the current champion. But all the rest have been Californians. Siobhan won twice, so she's keen to get a 3rd win as well. Apparently, even years are good for her, so we'll see.
Well, there are maybe some people watching who don't know what Dipcon means. They've heard of a Cascadia tournament in Vancouver, but they don't really know what Dipcon means. You want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so Dipcon has been running for many years. I don't know when the first one was, but I think this is the 53rd.
1967, I think.
There you go. So it's older than me, even.
It's pretty old.
Yep. Yeah, I believe this is the 53rd Dipcon, so it's run almost every year since then. And basically, it's the main North American tournament. So we crown a North American champion, and a lot of people who travel to local tournaments, if they're going to travel to one other tournament, Dipcon will be the one that they choose. So it's generally one of the larger tournaments in the year, if not the largest tournament each year. So.
And it rotates around the continent.
Right. It's hosted by another tournament who's got a reasonable, an established tournament, basically. So we've been running Cascadia for a few years now, and the suggestion was, why don't we host Dipcon? And I checked with my helpers, and everyone was like, yeah, sure, we can do that. So here we are. We'll see how it goes.
What opportunities will people have? You talked about a Friday night sort of socialization thing. In general, what does that look like, and how would you describe that environment?
It will find some restaurant somewhere that we can fit everyone who wants to go. There's a Chinese place we went to a couple of years ago, I think, which is a good candidate. It gives everyone a chance to sort of, decent sized tables where you get to sit and meet and enough other people who maybe you haven't met before, or catch up with the people you do know. And then probably we go on to a bar or something afterwards for the people that want to. There's also the possibility of having the room that evening as well. So we might be able to do some sort of informal open gaming or something if people are interested in that. So
how early are people getting there as far as travel is concerned, and can people leave after Sunday? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So some people are coming earlier. There's a number of people coming in on the Thursday rather than the Friday and we're going to have at least suggestions of sort of touristy things that people might want to do, that we might even do a lunch get together as well. It's all a little up in the air at the moment because it's still 2 months away. So
True.
So what was the second part of that question? There was a second part as well.
Well, the second part was, what is the environment like at Cascadia in terms of people that may not have gone to a tournament before? Are they going to have a chance to get to know people? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I one of my goals has always been that Cascadia is very friendly to people who haven't been to a tournament before. So I'm going to make sure that everyone knows exactly what the ground rules are. Everything is very fair and very open and upfront. I try and make it as friendly to the new people as possible. So I'm going to explain all this stuff. The people who've been to lots of tournaments are going to be a little bit bored when I'm talking about making sure that everyone knows how draw votes work and all that kind of stuff, But make sure that the people who haven't been to a face-to-face tournament before aren't put at a disadvantage because they don't know something, right?
All right. Well, tell us the important details. Where is this happening? When is it happening? And how does someone sign up?
Okay. It is happening the first weekend in February, which is, I believe, the 4th and 5th of February. That's the Saturday, Sunday. The location is the Holiday Inn Express in Surrey, BC, which is basically I don't know whether Surrey is a suburb of Vancouver or Vancouver is a suburb of Surrey these days. I think Surrey actually might be bigger than Vancouver, but everyone's heard of Vancouver and no one's heard of Surrey. So it's in the Vancouver area. The airport to fly to is probably Vancouver Airport if you're flying in from elsewhere. Although we have got a number of people coming up from Seattle, so that might also be an option. The best way, if you want to sign up, there is a Google form. Probably the best thing to do, though, is to email the cascadia.open@gmail.com, because that's much easier to tell you than the link to the to the tool.
Well, we'll also have the link on this episode,
right
in the show notes of this episode. But yeah, say that email address again, because that's good information.
Cascadia.open@gmail.com.
All right. So for someone who is wavering here that's watching this and thinking, I've never been to a diplomacy tournament. I've never been to a Dipcon. I don't really know if this is the thing to do. Push them over the edge. Tell them why this is the thing to do.
I mean, I'm not one to, I can't judge my own tournament, but I ask for feedback every year about what could I improve and how could I improve it. And the first few years I was getting quite a lot of feedback, and the last few years I've got no feedback at all on things I could improve. So people enjoy themselves. People come back. I've got regulars who come every year. One person has made it to every single Cascadia I've ever run. And at least I think 4 people have made it to every face-to-face version of Cascadia. So people come back, people enjoy it. You'll have a good time. I can guarantee you will enjoy yourself and have a good time, even if you don't do so well at the diplomacy. The social atmosphere and it's a fun, enjoyable tournament. It'll be a little bit different. I think there'll be a little bit of a different atmosphere with Dipcon, a little bit more competitive. Whether that's attractive to you, I don't know. But if it is, then definitely Dipcon's the one to go to. So.
Yeah, that's right. Don't tell me Jason Massbaum is the one that's been to every one. Don't tell me.
He is. He's my biggest supporter. So.
All right, folks, I want to tell you, you should come anyway. Even though you might get Massbaumed when you get there, you should come anyway, right?
Well, there's going to be at least 5 boards around, so you may not even get a board with Jason. Or you might get lots of boards with Jason. Who knows?
Anything's possible. Chris, thanks for being on the show, and I wish you all the best with Dipcon. I'll certainly be watching on DBN.
Thanks, David.
All right. Let's go now to news from the world of diplomacy variants. The latest issue of the diplomacy zine God Save the Zine is out from UK publisher Stephen Agar, and he is currently looking for players to fill out an 18-power variant called Mercator 14, as well as a gunboat version of the Hoplites War variant that I mentioned on last month's deadline. Agar also reports on the results of the latest UK zine poll, which is a tradition going back decades in which British hobbyists vote for their favorite diplomacy zines. Taking the top spot is The Fury of the Northmen, a zine started in 2011 by Colin Bruce, with John Marsden's zine Ode coming in second. Ode actually began publication, believe it or not, in 1979 and is still going strong. In other variant news, GM Alex Ronca has now released a registration form for his upcoming variant event called the Tournament Through Time. You can use that form linked below to enter this amazingly cool contest, which begins right around the corner in January. Chris Hassler's zine called SOB has a game opening for the 13th version of the Downfall of the Lord of the Rings variant, which is a Tolkien-themed diplomacy variant, which has been around in various forms since the 1970s. There are links to these zines below so that you can join in all this variant fun. This just in. The Olympus Discord server has now adopted its own official variant, a 26-person variant set, of course, in ancient Greece. Future games of that variant will be human GM'd on the Olympus Discord server, a link to which is provided below. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but former U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger recently died at age 100. Since that passing, the articles about his life and career have run the gamut from strong praise to more or less moralistic tut-tutting, and then to one particular piece in the New Republic by David Cleon, which was subtitled Good Riddance. So that gives you an idea of Cleon's view of the recently departed. But his article also mentions one shared interest that David himself has with Kissinger, a love of the game of diplomacy. So even in a Good Riddance piece, there was still a little tiny bit of common ground, just maybe one little DMZ, one turn in the channeler, but it's something. A link to the New Republic article can be found below. In other Kissinger news, our friends at the Diplomacy Games podcast, Gavin and Ken, discussed in the latest episode possible diplomacy Kissinger connection in the context of Gavin tracking down the author of one of the early articles used as a source for citing this connection. And then Gavin asked him about it. You'll have to learn what the author said. And while you're at it, you will also get a great interview with 2023 World Dipcon organizer Sasha Hellman by listening to that latest episode of the Diplomacy Games podcast. He also Sasha talks about holding a tournament again coming up soon in Bangkok, Thailand. That podcast link is provided below. You know, that Diplomacy Games podcast is just one of the many diplomacy media outlets which we call our DBN media partners. Let's survey other recent output from these content creators. First of all, Brother Board has released another in his long line of podcasts designed to help diplomacy fans get better at the game. In the latest Diplomacy Dojo on YouTube, episode 25, he discusses with hobbyist Roni Mordvanov the question of how best to find an ally in the early stages of a diplomacy game, both in online play and in virtual face-to-face settings. Here's a hint. It's not always about you. I'm also pleased to report that we have a new media partner as of a few weeks ago. Nicholas Spencer, aka Bob's a Builder, recently released his first dip video, in this case on his new Zeus Diplomacy channel on YouTube. It's an episode he called Buffalo Diplomacy, in which he analyzes in depth a game hosted by Bradley Grace called All Stars 2. It's a game where Spencer himself was playing Russia. And then finally, to complete our YouTube video trifecta, we check in on one of the latest products from Florida Man on his channel. In this case, a recording of diplomacy creator Alan Calhammer's article entitled Introduction to Diplomacy, as read by Florida Man himself, aka Douglas Rentoul. That's groovy, man. You can check out all these diplomacy videos using the links I have provided below. Many in the diplomacy hobby are aware that one of the bastions of dip play on the internet, Play Diplomacy, was recently the target of a vicious hack. While the site itself is back up, its chat and forum functions appear to be severely damaged to the point that they may never actually return. Given the discussion between hobbyists helps to form the backbone of our hobby, and that virtual forums such as PlayDip took over that connective role once the population of diplomacy zines declined, it is important that other communication avenues be explored given that hack. There are still very functional forums at Web Diplomacy and V-Diplomacy. And of course, there is discussion to be had on the various Discord servers as well. I have provided links to a few of the more active servers below, along with website-based discussion boards, so that those who relied on PlayDip and its functionality will have other places to go. While hobby publications such as Diplomacy Briefing and Diplomacy World are critically important to providing new articles and other features, the give and take forum posts must not be allowed to wither. Go, therefore, into the ether, find your favorite place, and start talking. In news from the world of online extended deadline diplomacy leagues, the Nexus League's Gunboat Competition Season 4 finals recently kicked off with the top 14 of the original 83 competitors currently vying for that season's Gunboat League championship. But you need not wait until Season 4 is over to start playing in the Nexus Gunboat League Season 5. It's already underway. In general, new games launch every Monday, alternating between Gunboat and regular press games. Speaking of the Nexus Press League, the final games of the 2023 season are just about to wrap up, with the 2024 league year set to begin the first week of January. Now, for those not familiar with the Nexus concept, its goal is to bring together hobbyists from all the different online platforms and Android apps to come together into the same competitions. If you are interested in joining in on the fun, a link to the appropriate Discord server can be found in the show notes. Finally, the Olympic extended deadline event is now in Season 2 on its own Discord server, with the semifinal boards having just been announced on a live selection show we aired here on DBM. The number one seeds for the 4 semifinal boards: Grayson, Volpes, Ewok, and Andre. A link to that show is provided below. In club and association news, I am pleased to report that, remember I mentioned last month about the rebirth of the Carolina Amateur Diplomats, the CADs, and the resumption of face-to-face play in North Carolina? This month, I'm thrilled to report there's a new national organization formed for another place in the world under the capable leadership of Jelte Kuiper. The new Dutch Diplomacy Association, called Nederdip, now has a presence on Discord and is looking for members to join and help grow the hobby in the Netherlands. I am sure we will be reporting in the near future on Neterdip's activities, as well as those from other national hobbies that are beginning to come together for promotion of their local play. Another way to keep up with the face-to-face goings-on would be to join the face-to-face Discord diplomacy server as well. I've given you links below to both those, but that server and to the one for Neterdip. Also, for anyone out there in diplomacy land who would like to talk about organizational activities in their own communities, or who would like resources, advice, or just a sounding board, there are plenty of diplomacy hobbyists around the world who would be glad to help you. Just email me at davidhood@dixicon.com and I will put you in touch with some of these hobbyists. And now, speaking of Jelte Kuiper, it's time for a segment of our show we call the Winner's Circle, where we interview a recent diplomacy winner to give you, our audience, the inside scoop not only on who is winning diplomacy tournaments, but why. Jelte is fresh from victory in the 2024 European Diplomacy Championship in Paris and is just dying to tell us all about it. Hello, Jelte, and welcome to Deadline.
Welcome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself first, if you would, like where you're located and what you do when you're not winning diplomacy tournaments, that sort of thing.
Well, I'm Jelte. I am from the Netherlands. I live in the northern part of it. In my day-to-day life, I study sociology and Middle Eastern studies. And besides that, I really love playing board games, including diplomacy.
Well, apparently so. How did you get into diplomacy to begin with?
Well, I was watching an online review of the game. It was a negative review even, but I thought, well, that's the game I need to start playing. So I went to, I think, Play Diplomacy and played extended deadline games there for a couple of years. And then I saw the opportunity to participate in the European Championship in 2019. So I went there, was a bit young, but had a great time anyway. And then I really started picking up my play in, I think, last year when I started playing virtually and also face-to-face again.
Well, that's wonderful. Was that the 2019 event in Marseille, or was that something else?
No, it was in Amsterdam.
Oh, I guess it was the World Dipcon in Marseille that year. Yeah. So the EDC in Amsterdam in 2019, was that your...
I think that's the case, yes.
And was that your first face-to-face play of the game?
Yes. It was, especially the first round was very stressful. It's just especially, I hadn't, there was no virtual back then, so it was my first live game whatsoever. So yes, it was.
Well, as stressful as it is, what keeps you playing diplomacy?
I think there are two major aspects. First of all, I just really love playing the game. I think it's balance of strategy, a little bit of tactics, and mainly the human aspect of playing is the first thing that draws me in. And the second thing that draws me in is the community that's around it. You also, when you play a game or when you play a tournament, there are players, and there are quite a lot of players that you look forward to meeting, look forward to playing with. And having such a tight and welcoming community really helps keeping me in the game, yes.
That certainly makes sense. So let's talk a little bit more about the EDC, the European Diplomacy Championship. You said you had played in the 2019 version. How much other face-to-face experience did you have until this past tournament?
Well, not a lot. I played in the Swiss Diplomacy Championship this summer. And besides that, I have no competitive face-to-face experience. So this was my third tournament.
Got it. What goals or expectations did you have going into the event?
Well, for goals, my diplomacy goal for the year was to make any top board. So I was really hoping it would be this top board. And for expectations, I actually, before the tournament, thought I would probably be the worst player in the entire tournament. So they were low, lower than they should have been, probably.
Yeah, apparently you don't know anything about your play of the game, if that was your expectation.
I mean, maybe.
Well, before we get into the game specifically, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about what it's like to go to something like this, either on a personal or social level. What is it like?
It's great. It's you get to meet, well, depending on how big the tournament is, lots of new people who also love diplomacy, who love talking about diplomacy, who you can, I mean, they like talking, so you can talk about basically anything you like. You get to play diplomacy for 3, 4, 5 rounds over a couple of days, which is great. You can go out together with the other players afterwards. It's a very social, very physical experience.
It is certainly a physical experience. A lot of people don't realize that until they go to a tournament and realize just how physically demanding it is, actually.
Yes, it's a very tiring sport. I mean, also you have a lot of physical contact with people, which is very different from playing virtual, where there is more of a sense of, at least for me, distance to other people. Whereas, well, if you know you're I don't know, hugging someone, it's much more close, and also it's very tiring. Especially people like to go out after games. That doesn't help for tired. It's great. It's fun. You should do it, but it's tiring.
Yeah, you have to be prepared for that particular aspect of it, or you should try to be prepared for it. All right, let's dive into the gameplay. So tell us what stands out in your mind about your experiences in the first 3 tournament games before you got to the final round.
God, what stands out? I mean, they were all very great, very different games. I felt like I was very lucky with the countries and the neighbors I got in those games. And I did feel like I got offered a lot of opportunities, a lot of which I didn't make use of properly. My first 3 rounds ended with a shared board up, a shared second place, and another shared second place, which in the scoring system would come down to 1 second place and 2 third places. Well, they could have basically been all board ups. So I did feel a sense that I was getting the positions I needed to win the games, but I didn't make use of them enough. And also the great place.
Oh yeah, well, name drop a little bit. Tell us, some of us that weren't there, to give us a little vicarious fun. And what folks did you particularly enjoy playing with during the weekend?
Oh, there are so many players. I think I played in all my qualification rounds with Toby Harris. He's a British guy. He played since he was 9. He's in his 50s now. He's one of the most experienced players out there. It's very interesting to play with him, and also he really wanted me to be on the top board, so I'm very grateful for that. Also, I had a very pleasant alliance with Christophe Borgia in the first round, who's I think he was the reigning European champion at the time.
Right.
And he's a great Swiss guy. Also, it's very pleasant for me to play with René van Rooyen, just to be able to speak a little Dutch in an otherwise very French and English place. Also got to play an alliance with Simon Wesendorp, up-and-coming German player, who's very fun to play alliances with. Quite a lot of fun players around.
Oh, I have no doubt of that. All right. Well, how did you feel going into the top board then? You hadn't, solo topped any of the boards that you had to get into the top board. So how did you feel about your chances going into that?
I was mostly very excited to be on the top board at all. I was, to use the Paris method, I was in a decent spot. I was in 5th place, so I knew I wasn't getting the worst combination of countries. I knew I was getting some choice. I knew some of my opposition. I also didn't know 2 of them yet, so I was excited to meet them. Rationally, I knew there was a chance for me to win the tournament. On an emotional level, it didn't feel like there was. I felt like one of the 6 other guys was going to take it. But I was there to try my best, have a fun game, and see where it goes.
How did the Paris method go?
So nobody changed positions. So Ruben Sanchez.
Jelte, I should interrupt here for the audience that doesn't know what Parrott's method is. I should have said it is the method by which the country that you play is determined on a top board in many tournaments that have a top board. And it has to do with choosing where you're going to select your country and that sort of thing. So now I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your answer. Nobody changed their position to alter when they would choose their country. So how did the country choice go?
Okay, so Ruben Sanchez, who was the first seed after 3 rounds, chose France, which is the traditional first choice. After that, the West was pretty quickly filled up with David Tomei and Vincent Dulin, respectively in Germany and England. Then it was the turn of Davide, who's organizing next World Championship. He expected a Western triple, so he chose Turkey, which is a very nice country to be in a Western triple game. And then it was my turn. And for me, so Austria, Italy, and Russia were left. My experiences with Russia playing face-to-face aren't that good, as I find myself struggling a lot with the time management of playing Russia, and I didn't want it for a top board. And well, Austria generally is my favorite country to play on a top board. I felt like it was too risky, so I went with the stable choice, chose Italy. After that, René got in Russia, and Vincent Lecoq, who was 7th seed, got Austria, which is kind of predictable. And then we started playing the game.
Okay, well, give us the lowdown on how that game went. Walk us through the game, if you would.
Yeah, I'm very happy to do that. So for me, in the East, the game started out like a pretty regular Austria-Italy versus Juggernaut setup. There was no bounce in Black Sea. Austria and I agreed on a Budapest for Aegean trade, which went very well. And that was the East in the earlier years. In the West, it started out with a France and Germany alliance between Ruben Sanchez in France and David Tomei in Germany. But that got turned into an EF alliance between Ruben and Vincent pretty quickly, where Ruben in France was having the dominant position in the alliance. Meanwhile, in the East, Austria and I had lost some tactical guesses, due to which Turkey got into Serbia. So it was looking pretty grim for Austria and I. Austria was down to 3 centers at that point. And meanwhile, I had a very nice friendship throughout the game with Ruben Sanchez, who was playing France, and we got to demilitarize around Matt, and I think we had the agreement that we would both try to win on our side of the board. And well, we both did.
And you all stuck to that agreement, and you ended up defeating the East before he could defeat the West. Is that what I'm getting?
More or less, yes. I think in the East, after that, Austria and I got lucky with some tactical guesses. So we were currently beating the Russia-Turkey alliance. And because of how weak Austria had gotten due to losing Serbia, it became clear that Austria wouldn't be able to win the game. So there was pretty quickly an understanding between Austria and I that if either of us were going to win the game, that it would be me.
Well, that happens obviously a lot in alliances on a top board. Not everybody has a decent chance of winning in most games towards the end.
No.
How did you end up getting the better of Turkey? That can be hard to do when Turkey has Serbia.
Yes, I mean, we got Turkey out of Serbia with some tactical guesses. Finally, I did not defeat Turkey. Davide in Turkey was down to being a full center Turkey, and he felt that I had played a very good game up until that point. So he did help me quite a bit in achieving the board upon that board. So we didn't defeat Turkey, but Turkey was very happy to have me win that game as well.
You know, I think Sun Tzu or somebody would say that the best way to defeat your enemy is to get them not to fight you.
Yes.
So in that sense, you did defeat him in that sense, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Okay. How does it feel to be the latest European champion? And by the way, the first one who is Dutch.
It's a weird feeling. I wasn't prepared to be European champion. Like it's now been a week, so I sort of know that I am the European champion, but I don't quite feel like it yet. Like if someone would ask me, "Are you a good diplomacy player?" my instinctive answer would still be no, which I probably have to change now.
Well, you can say that if you want to, but now it will appear as false modesty and will not go over well. What do you think the key to this game was for you?
I think it was that first Austria, then Turkey, then also France wanted me to win the game. Before the game, Toby Harris gave me the advice to play a calm game and see what happened, which was what I did. And near the end, it was a race between me and Vincent in England. And I think I won because more people wanted me to win than they wanted him to win. Yes.
That is a very common key to winning, and I'm glad that you were able to take advantage of that. Let's pivot for a minute to the virtual play of diplomacy, because you've been competing this year in the Virtual Diplomacy League, I know, and probably in the Tour of Britain too, didn't you?
I played one game.
One game, okay. But the Virtual Diplomacy League, you've certainly been competing in. For those who have not tried the VDL, describe that experience for the audience.
So it's a type of game where you get to play basically behind the safety of your computer screen. You play via the Backstabber website. And negotiations will be in voice channels. So there is it's a different type of game. There is more time to negotiate. And it's also possible to be texting other people during the game, which makes for a much more tactical, strategical type of game. And it's very interesting, I think.
Do you think that is the major difference between virtual and playing in person, is the ability to sort of do both of those things at the same time, texting and talking?
Yes, I do think that's a major difference. I think in face-to-face play, you can't figure out an alliance without being seen talking to each other. Whereas virtual face-to-face, you can work out like movesets and everything, just via text messages, which makes it a very different format. Also, because of you in virtual face-to-face, you get to look at the board the entire time. It's much harsher on you if you make tactical mistakes. And also the level of tactics is different.
But what would you say to somebody who hasn't tried virtual, but has played face-to-face or extended deadline and is thinking about launching into or jumping into the virtual pool? What do you say to them?
I would say just go for it. See how you find the game. There are some people who find the format very similar to face-to-face, others find it very different. Just try for yourself, have some fun, and see where it goes.
Well, speaking of virtual play, I assume looking ahead to February that you're going to play in the DBN Invitational. Am I right? Or you're planning to anyway?
Yes, it depends a bit on what weekend it will be, but yes, I should be there.
All right. Well, how does it feel to maybe think about competing on that stage? You know, that's a very, very public world stage. How do you feel about that?
It's very interesting. There are many good players which are likely to be there, which I haven't played with, and I am very much looking forward to meeting them. It's also the first time I will be playing a game that will go on for longer than 1910. I'm very used to the European style 1907 games, so that will be some sort of adjustment. But overall, I'm just quite looking forward to it and meeting new people. And again, I don't feel like there's a chance of me winning it, but rationally, there maybe is.
That's what he said last time, folks.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean anything. You can ignore it. All right. Any final thoughts for our deadline audience?
Yes, I will say that playing face-to-face diplomacy, playing in a tournament is one of the best things I've done in my life. And I would heavily recommend everyone to give it a try. Maybe go to WDC next year in Vadedo if they get a chance and have some fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jelte, for being on the show. And good luck to you in the VDL and the DBNI. And now for our feature presentation. Ed Sullivan's Backchannel is the hottest show on DBN. If you don't believe that, just ask him and he'll tell you. That's exactly what I did recently with Ed. I asked him about this past year of the Backchannel and which interviews stood out in his mind as a kind of retrospective on the 2023 face-to-face diplomacy scene. Brace yourself, folks, because here he comes. Ed Sullivan, thanks for bringing your hot DBN show Backchannel to this otherwise very cold deadline episode.
David, I couldn't be more pleased to be on here. I agree. It's the best show on DBN. It gets no publicity, but thank you for being our sole fan. And I know you sent me a script. I didn't read it, so I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
That is par for the course and outstanding in every way. It's up to you, buddy. You need to make my show better with your hijinks and your shenanigans. That's what we're here to do.
I got scared, David. Are all the other guests scripted? Do you tell them what to say?
Well, I only send scripts to those that I think might actually need one. So you could read into that whatever you wish.
All right. Brandon's got a script.
That's correct. I wanted you to come on the show and talk about the highlights of your 2023 year in this segment we're calling Backchannel Best. So to begin with, what events did you cover for your show?
Well, I covered 2 out of the 3 events that I went to. I went to Armada in Denver, and there was the rounds were well spaced out between each other, and that gave me a lot of time to record. I went to Weasel Moot, and I tried something new at Weasel Moot, which is I was recording in game, like taking away my negotiating time to actually do Backchannel videos.
Did you win Weasel Moot, Ed Sullivan? did
I was
not.
close.
Right. Well, I'm just
I'm
wondering.
always close, David.
You were participating. You were participating.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did not record in Vermont for a very good reason, which is I forgot my recording equipment, and I realized it as I was driving from Boston to Vermont. And then the lighting was a little low where we were at, so it was just the iPhone, and I didn't do it.
Well, I can understand why. Other than remembering to take your equipment along, did you have any goals for the year going into the 2023 year of Backchannel coverage?
Well, first of all, I mean, 2022 was my second year, but I'm not sure I'm going to top it. I had so many great interviews with people, and I to be honest with you, I struggled with how to interact with players because I'm a frustrated comedian, as you might know. As everyone who knows me knows, I'd rather be a comedian than a lawyer, and I want to top myself. And I don't script any of these interviews, and I didn't think I was going to be as funny this time around. But the goal was to try and top myself being funny. The goal at Weaselmoot is an innovation, which was I was attempting to affect the outcome of my game in my favor by interviewing people and demonstrating that they might not be playing well. And it went horribly, both my game and the interviews.
Well, without a few mistakes, no progress can be made. And we're gonna watch some of that Weaselmoot coverage here in just a few minutes. But before we get into that, I want you to give yourself an overall grade for the year. What was your grade for what Backchannel information you were able to provide the hobby during 2023?
Oh, not my diplomacy grade? That's probably higher than my Backchannel grade. I'll give myself a gentleman's B.
Okay.
It's fun doing the interviews and it's fun recording them, but as you know, it's not fun editing, getting the sound right, going through how, and part of me was just like, sometimes I don't want to record all the interviews I do that I want to do because I just know it's going to be a pain on the back end. My dedicated staff of workers, of which there's just me and Hal Schild, who have other jobs, can't always do it.
And Hal Schild actually has ability, which
he does.
Great. That is
he's
great.
Mariah Carey.
That is great for Backchannel.
I might be more of a diva than Mariah, but yeah, he's got actual skill. I watched his interview on Deadline, and I thought it was very educational.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did, in fact, work with Mariah Carey. But moving on, we need to start talking about your favorite interviews of the year. So first off, we have my old friend Ed Prim, who you met for the first time at the Denver tournament back in July. So set the stage for this video, and then we'll watch it, and then we'll talk about it some more.
Ed Prim is a hard man. I had him in my second round where I was playing Turkey, and he knew what he was doing. He knew how to play. I didn't know who he was, and you have to assess people right away. I did all my tricks. I really tried to get to know him. So I knew he was in the military. I really tried to figure out who he was. And what I did was channel my dad's Vietnam era buddies, people who had actually seen hard stuff and that had affected them. I don't know if Ed's seen hard stuff or not. I suspect he has. That is the way I went, and I treated him with the respect I treated my uncles, so to speak, my dad's buddies, who came back from Vietnam in the 70s and 80s. And we had a fun time. The second game was very, very, very difficult. But we worked it out between us. And then in the third game, we were able to ally successfully, such that Ed essentially helped me net the tournament win.
Wow.
And so I was happy, pretty happy with Ed. And so I decided to have fun with them. And this was right. This is before the results were announced, but I wanted to have a good interview to show the hobby, not just the same old, same old.
All right. Well, let's show the hobby again right now. Here we go with the Ed Prem interview.
All right, welcome to Backchannel, the premier show on the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, and I have Ed Prem. That's right. All right. Well, welcome to the best show on the Diplomacy Broadcast Network. First question: You've never heard?
Thank you for having me on it.
You've never even heard of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network, have you?
No, I haven't. It's the first time.
Okay. Aren't you excited to go home and watch yourself later tonight and see how you did?
No, I prefer to stay and play more diplomacy.
Okay. Speaking of which, this man may have driven the furthest to get here. You drove here from Dallas, Texas. How many hours?
That's right. It's about 13 hours.
All right. And how'd you find out about this tournament? Why'd you decide to come to this one?
Oh, I think Manus pinged on me and said, "Hey, here's the Facebook group. Why don't you come?" So I said, "Absolutely."
All right. Now, notice I'm asking whether, but how many men have you killed with your bare hands? None. None. Are you sure that you're just not allowed to answer that question? You're just going to go complete denial on it?
None.
Okay. I played with this man 2 times in a row. I tried everything I could. I even called him an alpha male at one point. You are a dominating presence on the diplomacy board. How did you get to that way? It's always that way your entire life?
Oh no, it's just the intimidating mustache.
Look, I want to tell you, you live in Texas, but I really have the urge to snip. What's the story behind this? This is awesome.
I just got bored one day during COVID and decided to do it. Then I shaved it all off, and recently my wife asked me to do it again.
All right, look, give me your diplomacy style, because you saw all the angles on the board last night and today, but you're very loyal. You're not really a stabby guy. I didn't see you stab anybody in 2 days.
Well, I tried, but it went bad. So yeah, I'm more of a loyalist, care bear kind of player. Although Edie would disagree with you on that. Eddie's the first one who would disagree. But yeah, I do tend to try to get more information and just try to be a good ally.
All right. You gonna come back next year?
Of course.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, Ed Prem.
You get to see his personality. That's actually one of the things that I like to do on these interviews, is to try and show people, different people, sort of what you do, David. You do it in depth. I do it in sort of 2-minute comedy bits, but the kinds of people you get on a diplomacy board.
Well, and you do. And Ed has been playing diplomacy for a long time. Tell me, you said that in your last game you were able to ally with him and that helped to seal the victory. Describe him as a player to those that haven't played with it. And I've played with Ed, years ago, but he's an intense guy.
It's very direct. He's not the kind of guy he might lie, but he's more uncomfortable. He's more comfortable just saying, "No, I'm attacking you. I have enough friends to grind you down." Because that second game I played with him, he played a Western triple as Germany, and he led it. I was Turkey on the other end, and oh my God, they just kept coming and coming, immune to any arguments that maybe it wasn't the best idea for Germany to be leading a Western triple, and then because they weren't going to crack as Turkey, I was induced to just stab everybody in the East as Turkey, just dot grabbing like Brandon Fogel at his best. And I got up to the same score he did, and I was like, Ed, split board top, how are you feeling about it? And I was just hoping he would say, and he's like, he goes, "No, I proved what I needed to prove, and I'm happy for that." I'm like, great. And then he just told the other players, who are all very loyal to him, like, he is the kind of guy you want to be in a foxhole with.
Yeah, he is.
And they were like, cool. And so that's how it ended up being a very good result for me in that game, even though I was playing against him, trying to rally and lead the East against him, failing. But great guy to play with.
Yeah, he really is. All right, let's talk about your second video, which is actually Kate Sullivan. Was there nobody else that would be interviewed? Is that why you interviewed your own daughter? Tell me what's going on here exactly.
All the interviews are on the back channel. You asked me to pick out my favorites, David. You know this propaganda. And how could I not say my daughter in her very first tournament, who had literally an hour with web bots of practice, and I tried to teach her, all my tricks a couple of days before, and so she was disappointed with me because I told her that we might go to Taylor Swift, who was in Denver the same weekend, but alas,
wow,
that couldn't work out. Taylor Swift tickets.
Basically, you treated her like you treat most of your life.
I stabbed my own daughter.
There might be St. Pete in it for you at the end. There might be. So let's make a deal here. All right, enough of this setup.
There is a funny backstory to this, which is
okay.
She was a little afraid to play because she knows how intense I get on these things. So I let her observe me for the first 2 games. I said, "Come and watch me," and she was just like, "Dad, you are a horrible person on the deploy. Like, why are you this way? This is not the dad I know." And it was so sort of entertaining to see that.
That is entertaining, and so let's be entertained ourselves, shall we?
Welcome to Backchannel, premier show on DBN, Diplomacy Broadcast Network. Proud father moment. All you Backchannel fans, this is my daughter, Kate. Kate, say hello to the thousands of
Hello
viewers.
to the thousands of viewers on the Backchannel.
That's right. Do you realize that thousands of people watch these videos? They worship my play, and they think, I should have a life as a professional comedian.
No, it's amazing. You get more views than Taylor Swift.
I do.
I mean, Era's
Finally.
concert tour tickets don't even compare to this.
All right, look. You played your first game today. But before that, you got to observe your old man playing.
I did.
Tell the viewers how amazing was I. How amazing did I play?
It's amazing that he made the top. Other than that, I mean, I think he was okay.
At one point, I think you had some comments for me, right? You were like, "Why are you so mean? why do you demand people do things?"
Oh, yeah, it was. Like, it's not with that, my dad. It's my way or the highway,
That is so false, by the
No,
way.
I just true.
Yeah. I am not that way at all.
Nah.
You saw me all the wrong way. Okay. But you played your first game with the great Eddie Brisson on the table. What country did you play?
Germany.
All right. How'd we do?
Got eliminated at the very end.
All right. But more importantly, did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun.
If there's someone out there who's never, the first time you ever moved the diplomacy piece was like 4 days ago, right?
Yes.
You've never played with any real people other than your brother and me for like an hour.
And the bots.
The web dip bots. Okay, were these people nicer than the web dip bots?
They're nice and web dip bots, but well, I mean, yes, I did get killed, but at least it took me a longer while to die.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Hope to see you at another tournament. Hope one day you can afford to fly yourself to these tournaments. But in the meantime, I'd fly you to any tournament you want to go to.
I'm gonna rely on free flights for as long as I can.
All right.
She's a sweetheart, Dave.
She really does seem delightful, which is frankly puzzling because I just wonder what it was like to be parented by Ed Sullivan. I don't really want to know, but it is a question that I've got in my head. Sorry.
She's so sweet that she allied in the one game she played with Cameron Higbee, who was rivaling me for the tournament win. And I looked at the board. I didn't say anything. I couldn't believe I had the restraint not to say anything because I just wanted her to have fun. But the whole time I'm like, this is going to be a hilarious story if I don't win because she's up and Cameron Higbee beat me.
Well, is she going to play again? And if not, who do you blame for that?
She's going to play again.
Okay.
She's a very motivated college student, though. And so if there's a tournament that's not during college, she will. I suspect she'll attend the summer tournaments.
Well, that's good to hear. All right. I believe that the next event you want to talk about here on Backchannel Best is the Weasel Mood in Chicago. So these next few videos were the in-game videos you mentioned earlier. So exactly what were you trying to accomplish with this particular experiment of yours?
Third game, I was going in second or third into that game, and Adam Silverman was first. And so Adam was playing Italy. I was playing Turkey. Saren Kwok was France, and she was in the mix. And we have Eber Kondrel playing Austria. And I was trying as hard as I could for, and Karthik was Russia to sort of do this, rat to take out Silverman, because I didn't want him to win. And it was going poorly. Karthik made a really bad stab. I mean, really bad. You just look at it on the coverage. And then all the dominoes started falling. Then I was taking out my anger on Eber, Saren, everyone I could to turn this ship around and aim it towards Adam. And it didn't work. And I think my logic was right. But the thing is,
so are we about to see you fall apart on these videos? This is really getting
fall apart.
I'm starting to get interested in watching them myself now.
I sort of fell apart, and it didn't mean no good. Silverman won the tournament. As shocking as it sounds, David, the other players picked Adam Silverman over me. I mean, so that's their right as players, and it hurts. This is me hurt.
Well, I can understand that, although it is, I'm trying to decide how you were able to accomplish that when Adam Silverman was the alternative. That's the part that makes me sort of question what happened here.
Fair point.
All right. Well, let's watch the first of these. We'll watch these sort of with some commentary as we go. But here's your first one with Karthik Conniff.
Welcome to the back channel. It's the first in-game back channel in the history. We're breaking records here.
Yeah.
We've got my man Karthik.
How's it going?
Karthik, why are you playing this way? We're negotiating right now. This is a board, but explain what's going on.
I had limited options, and I'm doing the best I can.
If this is your best,
You should see my worst.
all right. What's your goal for mid game with your 2-fleet Southern strategy?
Survive.
Oh my God! All right, that's it for the back channel.
Thanks.
I can't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The man built a fleet. He already had a fleet in Romania as Russia. He built another fleet in SEP and a fleet North Coast. Guess what happened? Eber just went all into with armies. So it's like, I didn't get it. I didn't get it then. I still don't get it.
Yeah, but he's really good, right? Because didn't he defeat you for the 2021 DixieCon championship? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? I'm trying to
You're
remember.
not right.
Okay.
That's a complete falsehood.
All right.
Another player defeated me by 1 center by your stupid draw includes all survivors or whatever you have to do. Forced a draw on me. But Karthik did not beat me. He just placed ahead of me.
So basically what you're saying is he came in first, you came in second.
How was I supposed to know that Tommy Anderson was going to give the man a solo? That's insane. That is an insane thing that happened to me, David. You've never had that happen at the end of a tournament.
I cannot be responsible for your lack of vision. I really can't.
God.
All right, let's look at the second video, which I believe is Chris Kelly, isn't it?
Chris was England. He was getting
welcome
killed
to the
like
second
me.
in-game back channel ever.
Leave me out of this.
I got the name Chris Kelly.
Please exclude me from this narrative.
How did you manage a zero-build England?
Hard work and honesty.
Don't you feel as abused as me? Even Turkey got a bill.
Yeah. For various reasons, I thought it would be best to tell people exactly what I was going to do. And I got the reward for that.
I included that video. I included that video because Brandon Fogel said he's known Chris a long time, and Chris looked really angry that I interrupted the game to do the video. But Chris Kelly is a hilarious guy, and he and I joked nonstop.
Well, Chris, he asked you nicely not to involve him in your shenanigans, and you did anyway. Which again, I'm beginning to see a pattern on how you maybe treat your alliance partners. I'm just throwing that out there.
It gets worse.
Does it really? Well, we're going to watch Eber. Is this worse?
This is worse.
Okay.
I was so mad at Eber. I was so mad.
Let's see if we can figure out why.
I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but at some point I was mad.
All right. Well, he's a perfectly fine gentleman, so I'm not sure, but let's find out.
Welcome to Backchannel. I'm sure TV.
You're not going to be on this camera.
I'll be on the camera with you. I'll be on the camera with you.
Come on.
Okay. You're wearing red.
I am.
Is it because you're drinking the blood that you're spilling for me, or just because you're playing Austria?
Both.
Oh my God, Ebro, why did you do this to me? I don't understand. We're supposed to be friends, right? Friends?
Yeah, but friends and diplomacy kill each other.
Okay. Can you kill Silverman?
Maybe. If I have time, I will. I promise. I want to kill everybody.
What's the goal? What's the goal?
I want to get 10 sentences Austria and beat your best Austria.
It's not enough to kill me in this game. It's not enough.
No, it's not.
You have to take my best country award.
I do. I really have to.
I hate you.
I hate you.
When he said that, when he revealed his goal to me, that his goal was to take my best Austria, I was just like, this guy. But I had eliminated him earlier, and what comes around goes around in this game, so I deserved what I got. He had a great game.
Wait a minute. You deserved what you got. I was not expecting you to admit the obvious truth there. Was not expecting that.
What did Churchill say? In magnanimity and defeat, or maybe he said magnanimity and victory, but
victory, I believe, might have been what he said. But
I'm trying to show the viewers that it's all okay, that I don't take this as personally. I take it very personally. I hate it, but it's okay. I'll soldier on.
All right. Speaking of soldiering on, I believe it's time for Saren Kwok.
Welcome to the fourth in-game progress Backchannel interview. This is Saren Kwok. It's having a horrible tournament, actually.
Yeah.
And then in the last game, just playing totally selfishly. How does it feel?
I don't think I'm playing totally selfishly, and I think I'm acting out of self-preservation after the injustices that have been committed against me.
Okay, why couldn't we just have killed Adam?
I tried my best. You gotta blame Eber, who was the big defector.
This is actually highly unfair because it's Eber who didn't kill Adam.
Yeah, we had a big collective action problem, and you look at the defector over there who is now trying to shift blame.
If I had points, I wouldn't be doing this.
All right.
And whose fault is it that I didn't have points?
Not mine.
It's my fault. I'm to blame for Adam winning.
All right, look, you're getting a little bit of the bitterness, the hurt, anger, the frustration, the tears, the aggravation, and a diplomacy tournament all at once. But if anyone can win,
that was the first time.
I'm expecting to see a solo, Saren Kwok.
Well, Ed, is that a commitment to help me in this game?
I'm trying. Me and what army?
Well, if Eber and Adam also want to help me, and Chris also wants to help me, I think we can do it. A collective team effort.
Well, I'll get you a solo.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
I was losing it, Dave.
Did you in fact help Saren after that interview?
I was 5 spaces away from her. If you look at the video, I wish he would have just killed me. I had one fleet in Ankara from 1904 to 1908. So no, but Saren made, as Saren does, unlike what I can do, right, which is not what Saren does. She rallied and finished second in the tournament, I think.
Well, what did you find out? Well, watching these videos again almost 3 months later, what does any of this tell you about A, the quality of your play, and B, your interviewing ability?
In-game Backchannel is a tool, and you don't necessarily pull out all your tools. I don't think I'm going to do many in-game interviews because I think people were getting mad that I was doing the in-game interviews and putting them on the spot during the game, particularly Eber. But I think it could be successful under the right circumstances. So you might see me pull that out again.
Did I hear you say that that you agree that Ed Sullivan is a tool? Is that what I heard? I may have, there may have been some garbled internet there for a minute. I want to make sure I understood exactly what you said.
Yes, something happened in transmission there. I'm not, I don't know, something like that.
I mean, I've heard this before. I just didn't know I was going to hear it from you. All right, final video here is also in-game chatter with a couple of very shady characters. So, any setup before we watch this video, Zachary?
Okay,
and Matthew.
so after I got eliminated, I went down to the bar to grab a scotch with Chris Kelly, and I brought my scotch back up, and I'm like, I'm gonna start interviewing people, and so I think you've got Zach and
Matthew Krill,
Matt Krill, and so I just barged in while they were negotiating, and others as well. They'll all be up soon, according to Hal, and you can see me just sort of barge into people during their negotiations and start talking to them.
All right, let's watch your barging.
Yeah, you sure did. Keith pulled back, and it was a good move. No, Keith pulled himself right out of the game.
They're master negotiators, and we're watching and learning. Welcome to Backchannel. We've got fan favorite Zach, and who are you again?
I don't know.
It's Matt Krill, multiple
Nobody.
winner.
That's who I am.
How are we doing our game? You gonna win?
No, I'm not going to win. Matt Krill has seen to it that I won't win. No, you saw that yourself. They have seen to it that Brian Pravel, in fact, will win this game easily, and no matter how many mistakes he makes, because
Has he ever won a game before? Is this his first one?
but the West is going to be 666, which, by the way, I will have you know, as a man of religion and spirituality, is the worst number, and it's what you're going to have, and it's what you are to me. I have nothing but love and respect. That hurts me to hear.
This is how the best players do it. Anyways, the Backchannel is better off for having you both on. Best of luck to you in your game. I love that. I got one with Johnny and Brian, and a few others, and it was great to do. That I probably will do again because they are so intense, and then they see the camera, and they don't know how to react.
All right. Well, I've got a question after watching this, and I really think this is a question that most of the hobby would also like an answer to. So please answer this question for me. Are Zachary Moore and Matthew Krill just really terrible people? Do you think that, or do you think they have any redeeming qualities, either one of them?
Wow.
Seriously.
It's clearly a no for both. First of all, I don't know if you've seen Zach's hair recently. He needs the man bun at all times, because when he doesn't do the man bun, as we've seen on a recent DBN Underground episode, his hair is not redeeming at all.
No, it's an explosion of a cornucopia of something, is what it is.
Matt Krill, actually, I'm going to revise my answer. He has nothing but redeeming qualities. If we could all be Matt Krill when we grow up, if my kids were as responsible and as good as Matt Krill, I, as a father, would say, I've done my job. And kudos to him and his parents, frankly, for raising this middle-aged man that is a credit to our hobby.
You know, as I think about it, unlike Zachary Moore, he also does productive things like creating very nice wooden versions of the game.
When I slid past him for the season 7 Nexus finals, past him, he made my award. I don't think I would have been able to. He was so, for him to do that, the guy is just rock solid.
Yeah, actually he is. And so Zach, just to be clear, we're not being serious about that. All right.
I love Zach.
Ed Sullivan. We have now looked at Backchannel Best for 2023. I mean, I will have to say there's no interview like you had from Hudson Defoe from last year, which I personally thought was your best interview ever, but I digress. What plans do you have for Backchannel going in to 2024?
Think we're going to go with secret cameras. I think we're going to go secret and have people not see what I'm doing, and then I'm just going to overdub my views of what they're saying.
That is a bold idea. Do you think it'll work better than your experimentation that frankly didn't work during Weasel Moot?
Anything really could work better than that, David.
That's probably right. It's also an election year, so I was wondering if you will be bigly interviewing any really, really smart, really perfect people on the show, or will you stick to questioning the likes of Brandon Fogel? That's my question.
Brandon is a tough interview because I'll just say this to people. He's so smart that he understands that this is all part of the meta also. And he wants to be funny so bad, but he won't. Well, he doesn't have any hair, but he won't fully let his hair down. It's a great interview, but he's sort of like talking to lawyers, David. You know this, lawyers who feel like they have to act like lawyers as opposed to being themselves.
Yeah,
Brandon's a little bit like that, but as he gets older, he'll learn. He can have more fun.
So you're calling him a young whippersnapper, is what I'm hearing.
I don't think he's that much younger than me, but yeah. David, also, I wanted to thank you. I think I've now appeared on Deadline more times than Russ Dennis. We have a little competition going, and I need to stay in the lead.
So my next call, as soon as we're done with this interview, is to call Russ and see how quickly I can get him on the show then, because I want to make sure I keep this controversy alive. All right, any final thoughts for our back channel loving audience here on Deadline?
Be yourself in all things on the back channel, in your life, and especially on the diplomacy board, because your personality and who you are, you can't fake, you shouldn't fake, and you'll have more success in life and in diplomacy, and certainly as a back channel guest.
Didn't you just sort of crib from Shakespeare to thine own self be true? Or you couldn't come up with your own idea? Is that
David? I was just reading from your script.
Oh, that's true. I didn't know
you put the script out. I just read the answer.
Finally,
now you're dogging me for it.
Finally, you read one thing off the script. Good for you. Ed Sullivan, thanks so much for being on the show, and by all means, keep it up with Backchannel.
Thank you, David.
Thanks to all of you watching at home. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast of Deadline. If you have news or ideas for features or feedback of any kind, please feel free to send me an email at davidhood@dixicon.com, or you can drop a line to DBN at info@diplobn.com. To review all of our broadcast offerings, visit our website, www.diplobn.com. This is David Hood signing off. I wish you brightness and bliss and, of course, Belgium.